This Saturday is the latest edition of the Merseyside derby, as Liverpool head to Goodison Park to take on Everton in what is the third time the two sides have met this season. Their first encounter was at a snowy Anfield, where a Mo Salah wonder goal and a Wayne Rooney penalty saw the points shared in a game where Liverpool really dominated Sam Allardyce's side, but failed to make the most of their domination. The two rivals would meet again very soon, being drawn against each other in the FA Cup's third round, and it would be Liverpool who triumphed, this time winning 2-1, with Virgil van Dijk bagging the winner on his debut after a £75 million move from Southampton. Their third clash of the season comes at a nothing time in the season for Everton, as they sit in mid-table obscurity following a disappointing season, while for Liverpool the game is sandwiched in between their crucial Champions League quarter-final with Manchester City. So ahead of the game, let's look at 20 facts about the Merseyside derby that you might not know. Now, the first Merseyside derby occurred way back in October 1894 and was won by Everton 3-0 at Goodison Park, and the Toffees would actually be unbeaten in their first four Merseyside derbies, with Liverpool's first victory coming in derby number 5 in 1897. While the game has largely been dominated by the Reds throughout history, Everton will always be able to say they won the first. But then again, if you come across some bloke in the pub making the argument that Everton are a bigger team because of that, then maybe just turn around and leave the pub. Of course, it's a sellout at Goodison Park this weekend, meaning there'll be almost 40,000 people packed into the stadium, but it won't be the Merseyside derby with the biggest attendance. That came in 1948, when 78,299 people attended the game at Goodison Park, which ended as a 1-1 draw, a result that I'm sure the Toffees fans would take this time out. As for the Merseyside derby with the lowest attendance, that came back in January 1901 at Anfield, where 18,000 people turned up, as Everton triumphed 2-1 away from home in the First Division clash. But sadly, barely anyone saw it, as I don't think it was on Sky Sports. Not every derby has been played at either Goodison Park or Anfield though. There have been 12 games held on neutral ground, with the two sides competing at Old Wembley, New Wembley, Main Road, Villa Park and Old Trafford. Liverpool have the advantage on neutral ground, winning 7 games to Everton's 2, while 3 have ended as draws. Now, not every Merseyside derby has been a competitive affair. There have been 5 testimonials held between the two clubs, honouring the careers of Jamie Carragher, Bruce Grobbelaar, Phil Neal, Steve Hayway and Brian LeBone. It's Everton who have had the most joy in testimonials, winning 2, drawing 2 and losing just once. But again, it's not really something that can count towards bragging rights. Sorry, Everton fans. But while Everton have been able to triumph in those all-important testimonials, it's Liverpool have had the most success in competitive action, and they've been able to put together the best runs of results in the fixture. The most consecutive Merseyside derby wins is held by Liverpool with 5, a run of victories that started back with the 1989 FA Cup final. They would follow that up with 4 back-to-back wins in the league before a 0-0 draw in the 1991 FA Cup ended their winning streak. As for unbeaten runs, Liverpool also hold that record too, and it's a record they could extend on Saturday. The Reds are unbeaten in their past 16 Merseyside derbies, the longest unbeaten run in the history of the fixture, with Liverpool recording 8 wins and 8 draws. Will they extend their unbeaten record to 17 games against Everton on Saturday, or can Sam Allardyce's side pick up their first win in the fixture since October 2010, back when Tim Cahill and Mikel Arteta were on the score sheet? Speaking of Tim Cahill, the former Toffee has 5 Merseyside derby goals to his name, which is the highest amount for a currently active player, spending his days at Millwall ahead of the 2018 World Cup finals. Cahill shares the honour with Luis Suarez, who hit 5 past Everton before his move to Barcelona, and they also had Dirk Kuyt for company until his retirement last summer. However, when it comes to the all-time top scorer in the Merseyside derby, that title goes to Ian Rush, who scored an incredible 25 goals in the game, coming across 2 different spells with Liverpool. It could be a record that Ian Rush holds for eternity, considering how little time players spend at just one club nowadays, with Daniel Sturridge the top scorer with 4 goals for a player who is currently at either Liverpool or Everton, and he won't be adding to his tally this weekend since he's wasting his days at West Brom on loan, watching them get relegated while he nurses another injury. Youngsters such as Trent Alexander-Arnold and Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be hoping to score in the derby on Saturday, but neither of them will be able to take the crown of the youngest ever scorer in a Merseyside derby. That goes to Danny Cadamarteri, who was 18 when he was on the score sheet in the derby in 1997. The forward is now 38 years old and retired in 2014, having ended his career at Carlisle United. Sam Allardyce has made Everton a pretty boring side since he took over the reins, which is one of the reasons why the fans want to see the back of him sooner rather than later. But unless Mo Salah runs absolutely wild, we won't see the highest scoring Merseyside derby ever. That game was in 1933, when Liverpool beat the Toffees 7-4, and there has never been more than 11 goals in one single Merseyside derby. There have only ever been 2 players to score in a Merseyside derby for both Liverpool and Everton, and that was Peter Beardsley and David Johnson. That's another record that won't be changing on Saturday, as there are no players in either squad who have played for the opposition, let alone scored for the opposition in a Merseyside derby. While there are no players in the squads today who have been at both Liverpool and Everton, there have been 44 players in years gone by who have plied their trade at both Anfield and Goodison Park. Could Mario Balotelli become the 45th player? The wacky Italian's been linked with a shock move to Everton this summer after scoring just 1 Premier League goal during his time as a Liverpool player. Speaking of players who have played for both clubs, 31 of the 44 players who have played for Liverpool and Everton transferred directly from one club to the other. But did you know the biggest transfer between the two clubs was the £6 million transfer of Nicky Barmby from Everton to Liverpool in the year 2000? Despite an impressive start in red, Barmby's second season as a Liverpoolian was a poor one, and he was soon out the door, joining Leeds United after just 2 seasons. The most recent player to swap Everton for Liverpool was Abel Xavier in 2002. You remember him, the guy who had the original blonde dye job. That's who Riyad Mahrez is really copying. It wasn't Justin Bieber or Lionel Messi who kickstarted that god-awful trend. But as well as being the most recent man to play for both clubs, Abel Xavier is the only man that can say he has played for both clubs in both derby matches of a particular season, first for Everton and then for Liverpool. Sadly, he won neither, first losing as a blue and then drawing as a red. There have been 230 Merseyside derbies, and Neville Southall has played in the most of them, recording 41 appearances during his time as the Toffees goalkeeper. Southall also holds another record, sharing the most clean sheets with ex-Liverpool keeper Ray Clemence, with 15 shutouts. However, Clemence should really sit at the top of the tree, having recorded his 15 clean sheets in just 27 games, compared to Southall's 41. Will Loris Karius ever break this record? Don't bank on it, he still needs another 4 just to catch up with Simon Mignolet, who has 4. And finally we come to red cards, which you probably know are synonymous with the game that was traditionally known as the Friendly Derby. It's well documented that the Merseyside Derby is the dirtiest game in the Premier League, seeing 21 red cards since its inception. But did you know that Steven Gerrard and Phil Neville are the only 2 players to have picked up 2 red cards in Merseyside derbies in the Premier League? The only player who could potentially join those 2 on 2 red cards is Roberto Funes Mori, who picked up the most recent red card in the derby, seeing red for a horrible tackle and a 4-0 drubbing for the Toffees, with the Argentinian clearly pissed off at being ran ragged by Daniel Sturridge and Felipe Coutinho. As for the first red card in the Premier League's Merseyside derby history, that was awarded at the same time as the second, with both Robbie Fowler and David Unsworth seeing red in the 82nd minute of the Premiership clash in April 1997, with both players being sent for an early bath after clashing with under 10 minutes to go. Will we see more red cards on Saturday? Hopefully not, lads, keep it clean. So those are 20 Merseyside derby facts you might not know. Let us know what you think the score will be in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.